If you see this washed ashore, get out fast. Fancy a relaxing day at the beach? Just be sure to look around and not to come across any of these items or creatures that wash ashore. And if you do, you better get out fast. And I mean darn fast. Would it still be worth it to stay at the beach for a relaxing stay? You'll be able to find out a clear answer after watching this video. Number 7. Giant Fender. Is this an extraterrestrial object? Is it a giant submarine? Maybe the folks at Fun and Beach could tell you more, as they witnessed this phenomenal giant object floating ashore back in 2013. As you know, news spreads like wildfire, and the locals were saved from a major panic meltdown because the Coast Guards were the first to arrive to the scene. From afar, it looked like a 40-foot cylindrical rubber structure. Nothing overly crazy though. It was actually identified as a fender used in docking ships, keeping them from colliding with other vessels when cruising the sea. So much for product design, considering it washed up on the beach. The engineer who came up with this structure needs to go back to the drawing board. If you might be wondering why you should still be running from safety from such an innocent-looking structure, it's the fact that it's not anchored to anything and moves whenever the currents direct it. Personally, it gives me the creeps. Imagine your curious self coming close to the fender and then the currents pick up, pushing it towards you. What would you do? Could you do anything at all? Better safe than sorry, cause at the end of the day, it wouldn't hurt seeing it safely from the screen of your TV or even your phone. Just like in this video. Number 6. Driftwood covered in gooseneck barnacles. Trees and logs of wood are common items that wash up ashore, but I bet you've not yet met the driftwood covered in gooseneck barnacles. Yuck! I bet the disgust from seeing these slimy creatures will leave you bolting for safety. A famous tourist destination spot known as Playa Beach is an ideal swimming spot where tons of people dream of visiting. However, a menace we all wish not to come across invaded this beautiful space. Unfortunately, a group of friends had the terrible luck of encountering a log covered with slimy creatures that move as slow as a snail, as if embracing the sunny weather from a distance. At first, the group thought it was a whale due to its sheer size, but the close-up look was far more terrifying. If you never want to come across these creatures, avoid areas with hard surfaces like logs and rocks where they love to live. By just the looks of them, I don't think I'd get within a mile of these gooseneck barnacles. What about you guys? Number 5. Giant pipes in England. You know, all this time, I thought anacondas only resided deep inside the rainforest. But I nearly lost my cool when I came across this consignment of pipes that washed up on the shores of England. I kid you not, you'd not stop running until you realized the long black creature-like object in the water is a giant pipe. England's normalcy came to a standstill for a while when what resembled a giant anaconda with cables washed up on the shores of their ocean. A pipe measuring 7 feet wide and more than 175 feet long was definitely a reason for panic. The fact alone that there was more than one caused plenty of panic, but the mystery was quickly resolved to restore calm to the residents. The pipes were actually a consignment heading to Algeria from Pipe Life Norway, when an unfortunate accident happened with a container at sea. The consignment was back on its way in no time, but not before curious onlookers could quench their amusement with exploring these weird-looking pipes along the shores. Would you dare walk on top of the giant pipes for $1,000? Some onlookers did it for free with no fear whatsoever. I bet you're still just as memorized as I am on what these pipes are even used for. Anyone care to enlighten us all? Number 4. Snowballs. Worry less when snowball games come next winter, because you no longer have to struggle wasting time forming the snowballs with your hands. Let's take a look at Mother Nature's marvel on Siberia's beach in Russia. Numerous snowballs were constantly washing up on the shores. It seems like all fun and games until you see the sheer size of these phenomenal snowballs. ranging from as small as a tennis ball to the size of a boulder. If you wanted to build a snowman, you'll just have to roll 3 of these sizable snowballs into place, and you're set. Now's the time. According to an Arctic research team, this phenomenon is only possible given the absolute correct temperatures. These temperatures interact with winds and the coastline. One thing I know, I wouldn't want to be in the water when these perfectly round snowballs formed, cause it might end up dangerous if one of these huge-sized snowballs hit your head. I don't know about you, but for me, it's best I stick with the good old handcrafted snowballs. Number 3, a western red cider tree. Sighting a tree on the shores of your local beach is nothing new, but seeing a giant western red cider tree that made everyone look like an ant is one to actually marvel at. The tree measured over 200 feet long and would have needed a raging storm to carry it ashore. Rumors have it that this ancient tree originated from the Olympic National Park before being washed up in Washington state. Number 2, toy eggs wash up on German beach. If they were voting to add an 8th wonder of the world, the island of Langu would be my first bet, because they receive Christmas gifts way too early. However, this was kind of like a miracle amid a crisis, cause around the same time of this happening is when the northern island of Langu, which belongs to Germany, experienced the worst storms it had ever seen. Strolling on the beach and finding it full of plastic eggs with surprise gifts inside. Believe it or not, this isn't surprising for the locals, as something similar happened back in 2017. This time around though, the Langu mayor permitted children to collect the spoils that washed up on the shores, as they pose no danger to human life. I doubt anybody would like to miss out on such an expedition. Even grown-ups who were young at heart braced the beach with their sacks ready to collect the toys. The owners had to take the hard loss, cause there's no way they'd mobilize enough personnel to collect the plastic toys from the ocean. They're lucky the government didn't file a pollution lawsuit against them. A famous researcher still following the trail that these toy eggs take up to date. If you're wondering why you'd run from tiny toys, just imagine where it came from. A huge container rocking in the sea, ferrying these eggs that eventually dumped them into the sea. Now that is worth running from. Number 1, sacks of milk powder in Taronga, New Zealand. New Zealand experienced its worst maritime environmental disaster when a Greek vessel grounded on the Ashore reef fell apart. The ship was loaded with about 1,800 containers, as well as 200 liters of marine diesel oil and 1,700 tons of heavy fuel oil. The devastating results were due to natural phenomena when the tides of the sea turned rough, causing most of this cargo to topple into the sea. First time experiencing such a spillage, you'd probably rethink ever diving in the sea there again. The chaos on New Zealand's beach was evident, forcing the police and even the military to intervene to contain the situation. The beach was a no-go zone and was closed down for public access as several cars came and helped themselves to some sacks of milk powder before the relevant forces arrived. This mere incident caused numerous deaths of seabirds, and a handful of penguins were left ill. The next time you see the waters turn black and iridescent, you definitely should not think twice before getting out fast. It's unfortunate that New Zealand's natural hub suffered such a devastating blow, but at least at the end of the day, of many working hours, the military successfully cleaned the beach, leaving it nearly as good as new.